All right, let's head west, guys. And yes, this region is absolutely stacked. I tweeted about it, but 5 teams are in the top 11 in KenPom. And that's before you get to Arkansas, who's a top 20 team in KenPom, TCU, who's a top 30 team and has the potential to be a top 20 team. It's incredibly stacked. Kansas, the 1 seed, set the record this year for Q1 wins, 17 Q1 wins. UCLA, almost a 1 seed. No Jalen Clark for them certainly hurts. Gonzaga, almost a 2 seed. The best offense in the country is Gonzaga. UConn, underseeded. We talked about how Xavier's metrics were worse than them across the board, but Xavier got the 3, UConn got the 4. They can be the best team in the country when they're firing on all cylinders. And St. Mary's, super good as well. And then again, Matt, you get TCU, you get Arkansas, etc. Zooming in on a couple of first-round matchups just really quick here. Arkansas, Illinois, 8-9. In my opinion, Illinois is overseeded here. I think Jim agrees with me on this one actually too. I think Arkansas takes them pretty easily, and I think they give Kansas quite a run in round 2. You don't think so?
Yeah, when's the last time Illinois had like an awesome win? It was like November.
I know. It was like November. I know. I should give up on that team. I agree with you. I've been too stubborn, but the upside attainability doesn't feel like it's just like a, hey, turn it on, flip the switch. And I actually kind of trust Musselman just in this context. I do.
Same. They've kind of got like the series of bigger athletic wings that Illinois also has in their stable. So they're not like going to have an advantage of having all that lineup flexibility. I think I've been saying all season that this Illinois team is built more for the big dance than the Big Ten, but they just drew a really tough matchup here with Arkansas. A ton of talent on that roster and a coach who's very, very has succeeded in this format, clearly puts together a solid game plan. Kai, what, are you losing it over there?
I was laughing because Trevor, one of our producers, texted us and said, thanks, guys, at the Illinois comments. He went to Illinois, so he's just giving us crap there. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just not, I don't think it's a good matchup, Trev. I'm sorry. I'm not really going to root for Illinois because I went to Mizzou and I don't really like you guys, but I wish you luck in the future outside of this tournament for sure. Upset favorites in this matchup, or excuse me, region. VCU is a 12 seed, and they are a lot better than 12 seed in my opinion. The A10 was super down this year for sure, but I think right now, if you've been watching VCU play recently, you could argue they are at large caliber. They didn't have the resume to get there, but they're definitely to that caliber. Ace Baldwin, he's one of the best players in the country, period. And they have a lot of high major players in that team. Could definitely give St. Mary's some issues, but it's also a really, really tough 5. It's probably one of the, I would say the top 5 in the entire tournament, Jim.
Yeah, it's tough versus tough. That's what it is, right?
Tough versus tough. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be tough. Like what St. Mary's funnels you into doing shooting wise, like they're super in the post. They're going to take the paint away. And then against pick and roll ball screen stuff, they're never helping off of shooters, which is going to hurt VCU. They're just going to have to take a lot of mid-range stuff. Baldwin's probably going to take a million floaters. Maybe Zeb Jackson. Who am I thinking of? Kai, the Michigan transfer.
Brandon Johns. Yeah.
No, the other one. They've got 2.
Oh, Zeb Jackson.
Zeb Jackson. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
The name was a tip of my tongue. But yeah, those guys are probably going to have to hit a lot of contested 15-footers because of the way St. Mary's defends ball screens. That's not what I love about VCU. I don't know. Does St. Mary's take care of the ball? They usually do, but they have a freshman point guard. So that's going to be something to watch in that matchup as well.
Yeah, I would assume Rhodes will unleash Ace on Aiden, right? I mean, Aiden's played against, like, I know we look at Aiden, he looks like, like a younger version of me out there, brittle and not tested. I mean, he went toe-to-toe against the Houston guards, played really well in that game. I mean, he's proven he's not just like, he's not going to fold, but I do think Ace and that VCU tenacity can maybe thwart some of his kind of get him out of his comfort zone, I guess. So I do worry about that matchup. Yeah, Kai, it's been that down to 3.5. So, I mean, it's
3.5. 6 at KenPom. Yeah. And it's 3.5. That I was
opened at 5 and got that down to 3.5 pretty quickly.
I think it's going to be a popular take. I don't think people really know how good St. Mary's is because they just assume they're St. Mary's and they're not very good. But
they're 11th, obliterated by Gonzaga. That's the last thing people saw of them.
Exactly. And this is a team that is incredibly good and plays fantastic on both ends of the floor. I think that's very important. VCU is still a little bit challenged offensively, despite their really good defense. And again, the A10 was awful this year. It was a dumpster. Conference-wise, it wasn't close to the WCC this season. UConn, Rob Douster, again, one of our other overlords, Matthew, with Jeff Goodman. He thinks the Iona matchup for UConn, his favorite team, is a terrible matchup for them. Personally, I don't think UConn really has a terrible matchup in the mid-major landscape, but Rick Pitino, I think he's a much better coach than Dan Hurley. No offense if Dan Hurley's watching this program. Your thoughts on this game?
So Rick Pitino, just a quick gambling nugget here. I think that gives you an indication. He's 18-15 against the spread in the tournament since I believe 2007. So it's not like he's like 20-0, right? I think everyone looks at like Rick Pitino. We're all terrified. We all agree he's an awesome coach, and I certainly wouldn't bet big money against him. But I do think UConn's on a different tier, just how they're playing talent wise, and the fact that they kind of turned that corner late makes me less worried about the Rick Pitino voodoo magic stepping in here, Jim. So I think I will take UConn, and I feel pretty good about that.
The one, at least Iona has real size. Like they're not going to get completely crushed inside. Like UConn can do that to just about anybody. But Nelly Jr., Joseph, Osborne, Shima, those are like two legit power conference sized forwards / centers that can compete in there. But yeah, the way that UConn has come on, especially offensively, I forget who said it, but it's like they're playing with confidence again. And it seemed like for a while they didn't have much confidence, so they lost their mojo. They've got their mojo back despite the loss to Marquette. So it does worry me there.
Pop quiz. How many Sweet 16s has Dan Hurley made?
0.
That's correct. He's made 0. I'm not saying that's predictor of what's going to happen in this tournament, but worth noting. I think it's also worth noting that this team feels like as underseeded as, was it Louisville that was a 4 seed that made a huge run?
I agree.
UConn is ranked 4th in KenPom. They would be favored almost over any team in the country besides 3, pretty much by all bettors' accounts.
They'll probably be favored over the 1 seed if they play Kansas.
They will be favored over Kansas. They play Kansas. Yep. That's a dangerous team right there. And again, this region is stacked. Boise,
real quick here.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick on that UConn game. My shouts to my dad for compiling some good little factoids here. Only 6 teams will travel 3 hours or less to their first round matchup. 2 of those are UConn and Iona. So it should be a pretty fun atmosphere in the Northeast corridor there.
It is it's in Albany. So this will be like heavy Iona. It could be a very nice Iona crowd, actually. Boise Northwestern, just touch on it really quick. It's cool Northwestern's in the tournament again, 2nd appearance ever. Boise's favored as the 10 seed. We saw this with Utah State and Mizzou. I really don't have a quick lean on this yet. Just an interesting matchup. Jim, early thoughts here?
Feels like it'll be a grind.
Very grindy.
Defense versus Northwestern's defense, 2 top 20 units on that in that regard. I'm going to be probably betting multiple Mountain West teams, whether that includes against my Tigers is a debate. I like Boise here. San Diego State, I know you guys already talked about it, but that's like one of the few favorites I'm really, really in on. I like them against Charleston. But Boise Northwestern, I trust the shot making of Marcus Shaver just a little bit more than Boo Buie late in that one. I will probably be a Buck and Bronco there.
I touched on it earlier with the 11 seed thing, the play-in games making the Sweet 16. It's happened every single season since it was invented. I'm way more scared about Mississippi State and Pitt beating Iowa State than I am about Arizona State or Nevada beating TCU. Matt, I just don't shake in my boots when I think of Nevada or Arizona State.
I agree.
Your thoughts? Yeah, you agree?
I agree. And both Alford and Bobby Hurley's tournament or lack thereof success does kind of give me, it reaffirms that I'm not super terrified of those teams. You're right. If you're a TCU fan, you feel good about that, but you have Gonzaga lurking. And while you could argue you match up well with Gonzaga, this version that we've seen recently of Gonzaga is not one I'd want to see particularly. So
I think that game, I hope we get that game because it will be a shootout. Both teams really want to play in transition. And you could argue that TCU is one of the few teams in the country that's better in transition than Gonzaga is. The defense is lacking a little bit for the Zags, but the offense is a fireball. That game could be like 95-92 or something. I'm just really, really hoping we get it.
Players to watch.
Right, Joe, I like what Joe said. Joe, I just want to give some love to Joe's comment. Very astute observation. It could feel like the TCU Arizona game we saw last year. And obviously comparisons reasonable there with Tommy Lloyd, Mark Few, same type of style effectively. So yeah.
Before we get to picks, just some players to watch here. Jaime Jaquez, Pac-12 Player of the Year for UCLA. His point guard too, Tiger Campbell, a guy to watch. His first round opponent is Drew Pember for UNC Asheville, who will be in the NBA eventually, in my opinion. Fantastic talent, ridiculous athlete. Jim, and I'm not sure they really hang around with UCLA because they just have 2 guys and UCLA is really good, but fun player to watch regardless.
Remember the name Drew Pember?
Yes, there you go. Yeah, remember just Drew Pember. Jalen Wilson for Kansas, Big 12 Player of the Year, unanimous Big 12 Player of the Year. Anthony Black and Nick Smith for Arkansas. Tough second round matchup. Again, a lot of pundits are choosing the Hogs over Kansas. Look out. Sonogo for UConn. His first round opponent, Nelly Jr. Joseph. Jim mentioned Iona's legit size. He's one of them. He's fantastic. Also, Walter Clayton, their guard, actually won the MAC Player of the Year this season.
Did he get it over Jenkins? I didn't
know
that.
He did, yeah. Walter Clayton got it. Yeah, weird. I thought it was Jenkins as well.
Yeah, that's weird.
Mike Miles, TCU, and then, of course, Drew Timme, who does have another year of eligibility, but he said he's not coming back. Picks, I pick Gonzaga to the Final Four every single year, guys, and I'm doing it again because
with you,
UCLA without Jalen Clark, they would have been maybe my title pick, UCLA, if they had a full roster. But with no Jalen Clark, I think they're just a little bit vulnerable, and I really trust this Gonzaga team. Matt, your thoughts, picks?
Yep. I think the top half of this region just beats itself. It's like going to be a melee, and whoever comes out the other side is going to be the walking wounded, and Gonzaga is going to be sitting there. Although they'll have a few bruises on their bodies too after the TCU war, assuming TCU marches on. But I do think they'll beat UCLA, and I think they get out of this. So Zigzag's Final Four.
Wow, I can't believe you're with me on this one.
Yeah, that does surprise me.
The offense is next level. No, offense is next level right now. It's next level. The defense is again, every team's got flaws this year, right? So we can nitpick flaws up and down the board. UCLA's got Adam Bona, who's I think going to play, but may not 100%. Like the front line looks a lot less terrifying. Jalen Clark's a critical glue piece. We talked about how Kansas is just, they don't have the top end horses talent. They have a great coach and they're a great team, but they're not invincible at all. So I think Gonzaga is the right pick in this bracket.
Ribbit. I'm taking the Frogs. I'm sticking with TCU.
Wow, look at that.
I picked them to the Final Four in the preseason. I kept it in the midseason on our pod. I'm going to stick with it here. It's funny, Kai, you talk, there's 5 teams in the KenPom top 11, and I'm not going to pick one of them. That seems stupid, but I'm going to do it anyways. I think they're that good when they're fully healthy. And I know there's no Lampkin, but the effort against Kansas State without him was really, really good. They just came up a little short against Texas.